everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be making some hot chocolate bombs, and it is so easy, guys. So if you are interested, please stay tuned. To start off, you're going to need a mold, and the best mold to use for this is a silicone mold. Here I have one that has heart-shaped cavities, and you're going to want to overlap your mold cavities to see how thick your chocolates will be. You want to have enough space to put in your hot chocolate mix. I also picked up a bag of Godiva chocolate morsels. And you're gonna need, of course, your hot chocolate mix. Along with that, I decided to decorate my hot chocolate bombs using candy melt. I have some sprinkles here. The first one that I showed was some heart confetti sprinkles. The second one was X's and O's. And here I have a container that is divided into 4, and these have 4 different sprinkles inside. So the first one is going to be these golden and pearl beads. The second one is a white crystal sugar. Next is a gold crystal sugar, and the last one are pearlized jimmies. I picked up this container at the Dollar Tree. I thought it would be really useful to melt the chocolate in, because it has a nice wide opening where you can just pour the chocolate right in without making a mess, and it has a spout, so if you do want to pour the chocolate out, that is if it's thin enough to pour out, you can use that. Here I have a fine haired paintbrush that I only use for food. I also have 3 piping bags here that I'm going to be using to put my candy melts into so that I can decorate my hot chocolate bombs. As for our marshmallows, I have some heart-shaped marshmallows, and no, I did not buy these. I actually had to make them by hand ahead of time. So to get these heart-shaped marshmallows, all you're going to need is a small pair of scissors and some miniature marshmallows. Now to get that shape, you're going to want to squeeze your marshmallows into a triangular form. Then you're going to pick up your little scissors, and you're going to cut a triangle shape from the flat part of one of the triangle sides. From there, you're going to see how you're kind of forming the heart, and you're going to press in those little corners to smooth out the sharp part and get your heart shape. To start prepping my mold, I'm just going to be using a little bit of vegetable oil. We don't want to drench the chocolate, but because this is a brand new mold, I am going to grease it just a little bit. If there is excess oil, I'm going to be wiping that off with a paper towel. So the purpose of this is just to get a nice shine and smooth texture on the outside of your hot chocolate bombs. Here, as I mentioned before, I grabbed a paper towel and I'm wiping off the excess oil. You can always use coconut oil for this, but since mine went rancid, I had to use vegetable oil. Now we're gonna grab our container, and you can do this over a double boiler or any kind of bowl that you have. And you're gonna pour your chocolate in and melt your chocolate morsels. So now I'm going to melt my chocolate by sticking it in the microwave for a minute. Now I'm going to do this in 30-second intervals just to make sure that I do not burn my chocolate. So in between every 30 seconds, you're going to mix your chocolate to make sure that it's completely melted. If it is not, stick it in for another 30 seconds. always coming back to check if your morsels are melting. Now, you may see that most of them have melted and you have chunks in. You're going to want to mix them to get those chunks to the bottom in the hot chocolate so that they will melt. To put our chocolate into our molds, I'm going to be using a teaspoon. And the reason why I'm using a teaspoon is because we want our chocolates to be hollow in the mold. So I'm just going to use my little brush to brush the chocolate up the corners and the sides of our mold so that we create this little hollow chocolate. And in case you were wondering, my chocolate was too thick to pour out, so I just thought it would be faster and much easier for me to use a teaspoon where I would get an accurate measurement. As you're working the chocolate up the sides of your mold, you want to make sure that you're not scraping it all off of the bottom. And if you do, you're just going to want to add more chocolate so that you can have a nice thick base coat. If you do need to go back after refrigerating this or freezing it, you can always go back and do a second layer just to ensure that when you pop your chocolates out of the mold, they do not break. You want them to be thick and sturdy enough to pop out of the molds without breaking. So now I'm going to continue to fill the rest of these cavities and make my hollow hearts. Once I filled most of my cavities with the chocolate, I decided I'd do a few with white candy melts. Why not? So I'm just gonna throw these into my piping bag and throw them into my microwave for 30 seconds and melt them in the microwave for 1 minute in 30-second intervals. As you see, after 30 seconds, they soften, but they do not melt completely. So we're gonna throw them in for another 30 seconds. They may still have their form, but if you squeeze and move them around, you will get a nice smooth texture. Now I'm gonna snip the tip of my piping bag and I'm gonna pipe this white chocolate into my molds. FYI, white chocolate is much harder to work with than your regular chocolate. I found that out the hard way. So as I was working this chocolate up the sides of the cavities, I realized that it was cooling down quite quickly and it was harder to work with. So I was getting uneven sections. Now I'm just using my small offset spatula to scrape off the excess chocolate so that we have nice flat edges. Now that I have all of the cavities filled, I'm going to stick these in the freezer until they are solid. While I wait for the shells to harden, I'm going to start prepping everything for the filling and the decorations. I put my chocolate mix into a small bowl so that I can easily scoop it up using a teaspoon to transfer it into the hollow chocolate hearts. I'm also prepping my piping bags with the candy melts for decoration. After sitting in the freezer for a few minutes, the chocolate hearts were ready. To check that they were ready, all I did was peel the edge and pop it up a little bit. If the corners came out of place, that means they're ready. But if they moved along with your mold, they need more time. To pop the chocolate hearts out of the molds, I'm just gonna peel back the edges as I push down the base. You want to do this gently because you don't want to break your chocolates while you're popping them out. So here is how the hearts turned out. Now they're nice and smooth on the outside, and yeah, they may look a little messy in the inside, but we're not going to see that. The most important part is that the outside is smooth and your edges are smooth, because what we're gonna do is put two of them together to form a larger space inside, and we're gonna seal any of the imperfections with extra chocolate. So maybe the next time that I make these, I will go over it and do a second coat just to ensure that I don't have any holes like this one here. I have some holes where it looked like the chocolate may have had some air bubbles there. So it might be a good idea to tap them down and then move the chocolate up the sides of the mold. So now I have my hot chocolate mix, and we want to put about a tablespoon of your chocolate mix into the chocolate heart. Using the tablespoon was a bit messy because the tablespoon itself was too big for the heart. But I'm going to switch it over to using 3 teaspoons, which is equal to 1 tablespoon. Here I have some melted chocolate, and what I did was I put another bowl under it with hot water so that it wouldn't harden. Now I'm grabbing another heart and I'm dipping just the edges into the melted chocolate so that I can put it over the one that's holding the chocolate mix and form a seal. To form a proper seal or seamless seal, I'm going to be using my finger to smooth over the excess chocolate that spilled out. I'm going to use an offset spatula with some of the melted chocolate to spackle any of the holes in my hot chocolate bombs. This is going to prevent the hot chocolate mix from spilling out. After adding the hot chocolate mix to my white hearts, I'm going to be adding marshmallows and some confetti sprinkles. And then I'm gonna pipe the white chocolate onto the edges so that when I place the other half of the chocolate on top, it'll seal. Now that my hot chocolate bombs are assembled, I'm going to drizzle some of the candy melts over it. And then I'm going to use some of the sprinkles and pearls to decorate them. For this chocolate bomb, I thought I would make a heart-shaped smiley face. However, when one of the eyes got messed up, I decided to just scribble and then fill in the entire top with the pink candy melt. And as you see, I'm using a cookie decorator for royal icing to spread this around to make sure there's no air bubbles. But since the candy melt is so warm, it started to concave. And it didn't break through, but the chocolate did start to soften. So to cover that up and make it look pretty still, I sprinkled some of that golden sugar sprinkle. Here is how my heart-shaped hot chocolate bombs turned out. I am pretty happy with them. I would say to make them on parchment paper so that it is an easy cleanup. And this is a cute idea to put out on a cake stand if you have guests, where they can just grab their own hot chocolate bomb, place it in a mug, pour some hot milk over it, and voila, you'll have your hot chocolate. Another great idea is if you want to store or gift these, you can put them in individual cupcake liners and put them into a tin or airtight container. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you try it. It's a fun activity and you get a nice sweet treat afterwards. If you know anyone who would like this video or like to try to make their own hot chocolate bombs, please share my video. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.